ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Okay, so we are continuing Canto 7, verse 15. Sorry, chapter 15, verse 30. I think I saw the last shared video which said 7.15.29. So I'm thinking that we have stopped here. Okay. यश्चित्तविजये यत्तः स्यान्निस्सङ्गोपरिग्रहः एको विविक्तशरणो भिक्षुर्भैक्ष्यमिताशनः. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family. Thank you very much. Tata, bye bye. Leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. Heavy verse. But this is the process for conquering the agitation of the mind. One is recommended to take leave of his family and live alone, maintaining body and soul together by begging alms and eating only as much as needed to keep himself alive. Without such a process, one cannot conquer lusty desires. Sannyasa means accepting a life of begging, which makes one automatically very humble and meek and free from lusty desires. Okay, so of course, this is definitely for sannyasis who have to leave, but they leave much early. Of course, if they are grastas and then they become sannyasis, they leave home much early. They don't wait for their grasta ashram to complete. But as we have been talking, even for grihasthas, at some point of time, we have to give up this family association, finish off responsibilities, and end grihasthashram and enter vanaprastha. Of course, vanaprastha we will read later in the 11th canto also. Very complex rules are there for vanaprastha, but very recently, my Guru Maharaj gave a series of lectures on vanaprastha, and he just said, yeah, basically it is fully focused Krishna conscious life without getting entangled materially, family, society, relatives, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and traveling to uh, places, holy places, Mayapur, Vrindavan, etc., for extended periods of time. And then only once in a while come back. Mm, so, like that. So, it's a fully Krishna conscious life. Of course, for us, um, in this age, it's tough to live life by begging, but grastas can just retain only as much as required for just maintaining body and soul together. And of course, if you are in holy places, then there will be so many places where prasadam is distributed free of cost. But unless we do all that, right? So this verse is saying that one automatically becomes very humble and meek, becomes free from lusty desires. Prabhupada elsewhere writes somewhere saying that, if a very poor man, he doesn't have anything to eat, so his body naturally becomes weak. And when body becomes weak, one's pride, wanting to fulfill their lusty desires, etc., everything comes down. So which is why one also doesn't should not eat too much, sleep too much, and give too much comfort to the body. Because when we give too much comfort to the body, natural outcome is lusty desires. Right? We want to enjoy this, that, everything. So even in bhakti, there is a need for some level of austerity, even for grastas. And Prabhupada's program was very simple. Simply get up and come for Mangalarti. No bigger austerity than that. We've been like we're seeing here, right? I mean, we've started Mangalarti here at Ulimau, and devotees have so many challenges. Somebody comes late, somebody has children going to school, somebody has this, somebody has that. So simple thing like attending a morning program is a big challenge. That itself is sufficient austerity because it takes care of austerity plus progress in devotion. Mm. Mm. And when we do that, automatically our desire for sense gratification comes down, and automatically we become humble and meek. So I was telling, if you see Shikshastakam, in Shikshastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the only 8 verses Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally gave or wrote, you can say. First verse is glorification of Nam Sankirtan. Second verse is glorification of Nama. And his first instruction. So after that instruction start for devotees, practicing devotees. The first instruction is what? Trinada Pisunichan. So unless one becomes meek and humble, there is no possibility of moving forward. Hmm. Na dhanam, na janam, na sindarim. Then all those higher rest of the verses all looks like too exalted, not beyond our reach. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly indicated saying that the progress in devotion starts with humility. So it's very, very important. And I was telling in one class saying that it's much easier possibly if a devotee is relatively a nobody in ISKCON, meaning he's not a preacher, he's not a leader, it's much easier. You can simply put your head down and do your sadhana. But for those who are, in positions of preaching and, other managerial responsibilities, it becomes a big, big, big challenge. Mm. So, bottom line, whatever we are, we have to develop this humility. We have to become meek and humble. Otherwise, we will not become free from lusty desires because then we'll continue to think I am the enjoyer. We will fail to think that I am the Atma, right? And the whole point of this Trinadapi Sunichena is to come to is that we should realize that I am not the body. Because that pride that I am somebody is because of the body. Trinadapi, right? Then lack of tolerance is because thinking I am somebody. Lack of tolerance. Then not wanting to give respect to somebody is also because we are in the bodily conception. So basically, if we follow this only, we can come to the platform of understanding, saying that, see, I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul, and all these things that are happening is not related to me. And then it goes on. Okay, next after that, na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. Right? Don't want wife, don't want children, don't want family, don't want relatives, don't want money, don't want people, don't want followers. मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी. Give me ahituki bhakti. Causeless devotion. Ahituki bhakti means causeless devotion, meaning we are not coming to Krishna to ask for something. Just for his pleasure, pure devotion. But all that starts with this humility. And what Krishna does in the lives of devotees gives them sufficient hammering for them to give up their false ego. So that hammering comes in the form of problems, situations, challenges. And in every situation, all that we have to remember is that I am nobody, Krishna is the boss. So Krishna will take care, Krishna will do something. Mm. So only then we can come to this stage of utter humility, utter helplessness. It has to be utter helplessness. Utter means just no other hope, no other no dependent on anybody else. And Prabhupada is saying one automatically becomes very humble and meek. Smriti literature. There's one verse which is quoted in this world of duality. Family life is a cause that spoils one's spiritual life or meditation. Hmm? Hmm. Family life is the cause that spoils one's spiritual life. Of course, those who have entered Grihastha ashram, we can't run away. So we have to take care of responsibilities, but not being attached, not being attached. Grahamanda Kupam, right? Prahlad Maharaj says Grahamanda Kupam, right? It's a dark well. Family life is a dark well. Dark well means we don't even know that it is there and we don't know how deep it is. Right? It's like that. Specifically understanding this fact, one should accept the order of sannyas without hesitation. Okay, ready? Accept sannyas. Who are already raise your hands? Prabhupada is saying specifically understanding this fact, one should accept order of sannyas without hesitation. Will somebody give sannyas? Okay. Okay, anyway, the point is clear. देशे शुचौ समे राजन् संस्थाप्यासनम् आत्मनः स्थिरं सुखं समं तस्मिन् आसीतर्ज्वङ्गओमिति. My dear king, in a sacred and holy place of pilgrimage, one should select a place in which to perform yoga. The place must be level and not too high or low. There one should sit very comfortably, being steady and equipoised, keeping his body straight, and thus begin chanting the Vedic pranava. So this is for yogis. And also Krishna describes this process even in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna, Arjuna finally says, boss, it's not possible. Anyway, so just, thinking about the previous verse, Prabhupada is generally so heavy, right? And somehow every time we give class, devotees come and say that Prabhu, you're too heavy. But then I'd say that I'm just repeating what Prabhupada has written. Where am I adding anything of my own? If Prabhupada says something like specifically understanding this fact, one has to immediately take sannyas without hesitation. No, I'm not saying that. Prabhupada is saying that. And it's heavy. You can take it lightly, but the statement is heavy. So on this yatra, one devotee came and started like tears is in the devotee's eyes, saying that oh, sometimes it becomes very difficult to follow what you're saying. I said, I am not saying anything. It's just Prabhupada who is saying. So if there's a problem, then we have to go and ask Prabhupada. Saying, Prabhupada, why are you so heavy in your purports? Just because we don't read the purports properly, or yeah, mostly yeah, because if you hear a class, normally devotees who give class don't want to make the class so heavy that people will run away, right? So they will make it consumable. But because we are doing here, what we are doing is reading. We are not doing a class. So obviously, whatever is given by Prabhupada gets emphasized, blown up. It could be difficult, but it's not easy to get Krishna. That's what I told the devotee, saying it's not easy to get Krishna. If you want to take it lightly, then yeah, you can take it lightly, but don't expect to get Krishna in this life. You might have to come back again. Purport. Generally, the chanting of Om is recommended because in the beginning one cannot understand the personality of Godhead. Tavadanti tat tattvavidasthattvamejnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Unless one is fully convinced of the Supreme Person of Godhead, one has the tendency to become an impersonalist yogi, searching for the Supreme Lord within the core of his heart. Dhyanavastita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. Here, the chanting of Omkara is recommended because in the beginning of transcendental realization, instead of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one may chant Omkara, Pranava. There is no difference between the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Omkara because both of them are sound representations of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. In all Vedic literatures, the sound vibration Omkara is the beginning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The difference between chanting Omkara and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is that the Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted without consideration of the place or the sitting arrangements recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Chucho deshe pratishthapya sthiram asanam atmanah nachuchritam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram. Similar to this verse. One should go to a secluded place, one should lay kusha grass on the ground, cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. Seat should neither be too high nor too low, should be situated in a sacred place. The Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted by anyone without consideration of the place or how one sits. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has openly declared, Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. In chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there are no particular injunctions regarding one's sitting place. The injunction Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha includes Desha Kala Patra, place, time, and the individual. Therefore, anyone may chant the Hare Krishna mantra without consideration of the time and place. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to find a suitable place according to the recommendations of Bhagavad Gita. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra, however, may be chanted at any place and any time, and this will bring results very quickly. Yet, even while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one may observe regulative principles. Thus, while sitting and chanting, one may keep his body straight, and this will help one in the chanting process. Otherwise, one may feel sleepy. So, Prabhupada is saying the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra doesn't require any rules, place, desha, kale, patra. Nothing is required, but still, some of the principles of yoga can be used. Like sitting with body straight or back straight. When the back is straight, one doesn't fall asleep. And generally, one's focus, there will be some focus. So, like this. So, rules are not required. At the end of the day, it is focus on Shravanam. Whether if we can do Shravanam without all this jugglery, then fine. But if we are sleepy, inattentive, etc., then we can follow some of these principles of yoga. That's what Prabhupada is saying. But this doesn't mean I will go to a yoga class. This just means when you are sitting and chanting, you can sit. Some people sit in Vajrasana, Sukhasana with back straight. Yeah, but yeah, we have to just make sure that, some people try this half closed eyes. And what happens then? Eyes becomes completely closed. So then they end up sleeping. So we don't have to try all that. Just Prabhupada is saying sitting posture can be followed. Sitting straight. Don't sit very comfortably on a sofa, recliner, couch, because then you'll naturally fall asleep. Okay. So important thing is Hare Krishna can be chanted anywhere. Pranava, Omkara requires to follow some rules. Pranapanau sanirundhyat. पूरकुम्भकरे चकैः यावन्मनस्त्यजेत् कामान् स्वनासाग्रनिरीक्षणः यतो यतो निस्सरति मनः कामः तं भ्रमत् ततस्तत उपाहृत्य हृदिरुन्ध्याच् शनैर्बुधः. While continuously staring at the tip of the nose, a learned yogi practices the breathing exercise through the technical means known as Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka, which is basically breathe in, breathe out, hold in modern language, controlling inhalation and exhalation and then stopping them both. In this way, the yogi restricts his mind from material attachments and gives up all material desires. Now, one might think, how can just by breathing one restricts mind from material attachment and gives up material desires? Anyway, we'll see what Prabhupada has written. The whole process, um, is to focus the mind in this yoga, Ashtanga yoga. They focus on the breathing. And when the mind is focused on the breathing, mind generally doesn't go here and there. So it's just a means to control the mind, but it's mechanical. So the problem with mechanical process is that it might fail. Right? We know that great yogis, they fell down, right, from their position. So it's not a foolproof mechanism, but it's a good process for somebody who doesn't have bhakti process with them. So for them, it's good because just by fixing the mind on the breathing, they gain control over the mind, or they start to gain control over the mind. Then they will do pratyahara in the Ashtanga process. Then slowly they will come to dharana, remembering some. Of course, traditional yoga is to remember the four-armed form of the Lord. So, but for them to do that, this breathing process, pranayama, is very, very effective. So they sit in asana and they do pranayama. But of course, to do that, they also follow a lot of rules and regulations. Yama niyama they follow. It's not like modern classes, right? So follow rules and regulations, then sit in asana, do proper breathing exercise, then control mind, then do pratyahara, meaning give up material attachments, etc., etc. So it can work, but it's mechanical, and bhakti is a more closer to the soul, more natural process, less artificial, lesser chances of falling down. As soon as the mind, being defeated by lusty desires, drifts towards feelings of sense gratification, the yogi should immediately bring it back and arrest it within the core of his heart. Okay, so now just by this statement, we can understand how difficult or impractical this whole process of Ashtanga Yoga is for this time. Instruction is clear that mind gets controlled, and if in case there are feelings of sense gratification, yoga should immediately bring it back and arrest it, meaning so much power, so much sattvic. The environment must be so much sattvic to be able to do Ashtanga Yoga. Kali Yuga is just not practical at all. Mm. So in Kali Yuga, we need Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasya Dehinah Rasavarjam Rasopyasya Param Drishta Nivartate. We need to experience higher taste, and naturally we should lose lower taste. There is no other way. Fortunate are those souls who get this higher taste quickly, immediately, by Shravanam Kirtanam. Then they are saved. They are saved from this fall down. But those who don't develop desire for Shravanam Kirtanam, very tough. Then bringing mind under control just takes like years. The practice of yoga is concisely explained herein. When this practice of yoga is perfect, one sees the super soul, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Person of Godhead within the core of one's heart. So when Ashtanga Yogi becomes perfect, Siddhi, when he achieves Siddhi, when he becomes Siddha, then he sees Paramatma in the heart. He sees literally, not in the mirror of his mind, as in not in his mind. Literally he sees. But for a devotee, he directly sees Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayantiyam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. He sees Shama Sundara. And Shama Sundara is Achintya Gunaswarupam. Shama Sundara's Guna and Swarupa is Achintya, unimaginable. But for that, one has to have Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Eyes anoint or eyes were applied with the ointment of love, which means that basically he loves Krishna. But we've been telling this repeatedly, saying that one cannot love Krishna unless he loves material things. We can only love one thing at a time. If you're loving material things, then we can't love Krishna. Yeah, and beauty of bhakti process, it takes us much beyond Ashtanga Yoga, much, much, much beyond Ashtanga Yoga. Right, and the process is so simple. I was saying, actually, process is easy. Process is simple, but not easy. Process is simple. It's not very complicated, but it's not easy to follow. Why is it not easy to follow? Why is it not easy to follow Krishna consciousness? Any answers?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hmm.
Because we are so entangled in material world.
Yeah, because our mind wants material happiness. We just want happiness. We want to enjoy. It's our problem. So it's all the mind. It's all in the mind. If you get attracted to something material, it's in the mind. If you get repulsed by something material, it's in the mind. If you're happy, it's in the mind. If you're sad, it's in the mind. Everything is in the mind. Unless we come to the spiritual platform, this mind will keep tricking us. So the simple process becomes difficult to follow. But Krishna says, Susukham kartum abhyam. It's so easy to go because it's so full of happiness. But we complicate even that most simple process across all yugas. Just imagine. It's the most powerful and the most simplest process. Still we struggle. So Krishna says in 6th chapter 47, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana sadhavan bhajate yomam samyukta tamomataha. Of all yogis who always abides in me with great faith, mm, who abides in me, lives in me, thinks about me, or is always in thinking about Krishna, in Krishna, in consciousness of Krishna, with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, mm, not simply service. Because our service currently might be in the modes, mm, right? So Kapil Muni says to Devahuti, saying that based on the devotees, if the devotee is in the mode of goodness, he will do bhakti in the mode of goodness. If he's in the mode of passion, he will do bhakti in the mode of passion. If he's ignorant, he'll do bhakti in the mode of ignorance. Unfortunately, devotees are find it difficult to recognize this, that they're in a lower mode. One practical way, which I'm like pushing devotees a little bit, saying when somebody is singing Mangalarti, how slow he sings tells us which mode he is in. If he's singing Mangalarti like slowly without any hurry to finish it off, or just want to go to some very fast, tala, that means that devotee is in goodness, right? And which means that he might also be, might have crossed goodness also, he might be in transcendence also. But those devotees who are generally rajasic, they want to, finish fast and then sing fast, then sing long, fast tunes. They can't sing slow tune for long time. Because you are in the mode of passion. Mode of ignorance anyway, doesn't want to. You just like switching. Just not can't focus at all. So we should at least come, because this transcendental loving service will not happen if we are in Rajoguna, mm, or Tamoguna, or even Satvaguna, because it is transcendental to gunas. So we have to understand that we have to make progress. Uh, Most people I see are in Rajoguna, heavy Rajoguna, right? And they're practicing devotion in that mode, which is okay, which is not bad, but which is not the best. And such devotees have to recognize their mode, the influence of their mode, and slightly move, make progress. And actually, elsewhere also, Prabhupada writes saying that for one to move from lower mode to higher mode, he has to recognize the lower mode and try to be away from it. Hmm. For example, somebody is in mode of ignorance, meaning sleepy. Chanting, sleeping, attending class, sleeping. Then what he should do? He should remain standing and chant. He should remain standing and hear lecture. So that he is fighting his guna. Mm. And especially tip for devotees who feel drowsy during chanting. Don't close your eyes. Yes, keeping the eyes open will and push us into Rajoguna, but it's better than closing the eyes and sleeping. When you keep your eyes open, then you see here and there, and then you start thinking about those objects, which is better than sleeping. So don't close your eyes. Those who don't have this problem of sleepy, then they can close their eyes and chant. Uh, because closing the eyes and chanting actually is very, very beneficial, because then the eyes don't make material contact of material things. Then we see somebody, we see something. Uh, and all these are required because we are so much in lower modes that it takes us time and effort to move higher. Mm. And one cannot think that he is offering loving service if he is in Rajoguna or Tamoguna. That is not loving service. That just looks like, it's called Bhakti Abhasa. It just looks like that. A person who is actually in the mode of transcendence, he lives without cares, Prabhupada writes, right? He doesn't care about his material life. He's just simply 100% of his time just thinking about how to serve and please Krishna and Guru. Only then this loving service is the stage of prema. So anartha nivrutti has to happen, then nishta, ruchi, asakti, bhava, prema. Or even bhava for that matter, right? Which is a ray of prema. It takes lot of effort, lot of effort. And anybody who is materially attached cannot have loving, cannot do loving service. It's just called bhakti abhasa. It just looks like bhakti, looks like loving service, but it's not. So one who can live like this in full faith and serving Krishna lovingly is most intimately united with me. Krishna is saying in yoga and is the highest of all. Yoginam api sarvesham. After of all the yogis, yuktatamo mataha. Yuktatama. He is the most intimately connected. Mm, Yuktatama. So Prabhupada is translating as it is the highest of all. A devotee can immediately become a perfect yogi because he practices keeping Krishna constantly within the core of his heart. Now, this is an instruction. Devotee can immediately become perfect yogi because he practices keeping Krishna constantly within the core of his heart. So, if we are able to keep Krishna constantly in the core of our heart, then we can become a perfect yogi. This is another way to practice yoga easily. The Lord says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Always think of Krishna. Was Arjuna always thinking about Krishna when he was on the battlefield? Yes, because he was doing that service for Krishna. So when we are doing something directly for Krishna, that is also considered as thinking about Krishna. Hmm. Doesn't mean that all the time we have to be just meditating on the transcendental form of the Lord or anything like that. If we are working in full Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, that also he means thinking about Krishna. Because that will slowly actually bring us to the stage of directly thinking about Krishna in dhyana, right? Which is the process of chanting. So we should understand as followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we have two kinds of samadhi. One is during chanting, the other is when we are doing preaching, the Sankirtan moment. Both of them are samadhi. Both are samadhi. Because in one you are directly thinking about Krishna, in other you are thinking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by trying to spread his movement. Both of them are samadhi. If one practices devotional service by always keeping Krishna within the core of his heart, he immediately becomes a first class yogi. Which is why surrendering, submitting ourselves to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can very, very quickly become a first class yogi. And sometimes, situations will be challenging, which means that they will not only, by that, not only are you thinking about Krishna all the time, but you also become meek and humble. So, double bonus. Furthermore, keeping Krishna within the mind is not a difficult task for the devotee. So, if we are finding it difficult, that we should understand that we have still not become a devotee. That's what Prabhupada is saying. For a devotee, it's not a difficult task. So, if we are finding it difficult, that means that we still have work to do. For an ordinary man in the bodily concept of life, the practice of yoga may be helpful, but one who immediately takes to devotional service can immediately become a perfect yogi without difficulty. So, it's very easy. Sukham kartum avyayam. Sukham, it can be done very blissfully, happily. Hmm? And we have to think about these verses, man mana bhava mad bhakto. How much, where is my mind? How much of that day is my mind in non-Krishna conscious? How much of the how much of my mind is non-Krishna conscious in the day? And one should aim to increase or decrease that non-Krishna consciousness and increase Krishna consciousness. And only then one can come to this man mana bhava mad bhakto. And the process for us is chanting Hare Krishna. Because as soon as we chant Hare Krishna, we remember Krishna. First, we remember the Nama by wanting to bring it, by wanting to chant, we remember the Nama. Then, when we are chanting the Nama, automatically we will remember Krishna's form. Automatically, we'll remember Krishna's qualities. Automatically, we'll remember Krishna's Leela. So, the trigger is the Nama, which is why for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Nama is everything. So I keep telling devotees saying that put 150% of your energy for chanting. Give everything to chanting. And let it be the best time of your day. Let that this chanting happen during the best time of your day, because otherwise it's pretty difficult, right? Rajoguna starts, Tamoguna starts, and then it becomes very difficult. Okay, so I think I'll stop here. Any questions anybody has? Any questions? You can unmute and ask if some new devotees have joined newly. So, welcome you to this morning session of Bhagavatam. So, we in the seventh canto, and you will get the recordings in the group and in the YouTube channel. There are all the previous discussions have been recorded. Um, yeah, so you can hear from the beginning as well. And as you would have seen, we are doing a detailed study of Prabhupada's purports and discuss important statements that Prabhupada makes in his purports, which are of meant for practical application, not just to hear and leave, hear from one ear and leave from the other. So, which is why Prabhupada said if somebody can do hearing Bhagavatam every day, then he'll become a pure devotee. Mm, no way we can escape it. So, this is our attempt to make devotees read. So, this is reading. So, we are reading, right? So, you're also reading along. Uh, yeah. Okay. Any questions in general, or is it okay? Okay, then we'll close for today. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय, समवेत गौरभक्तवृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna Prabhu.